What's up, YouTube world? My name is Jeremy Barahona. I'm the Student Relations Coordinator for Pursue Scholars, which is a Chicago-based organization, nonprofit organization. And BJ comes with a lot of experience. He's the co-founder of Build, Build a Better Us, which is a ministry that helps people build extraordinary marriages. And I'm going to let him get into that. But BJ, before we start, man, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to meet with myself and dialogue about this. I know it's early in the morning. So BJ, I just want to say thank you, brother. So,
no doubt. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for just giving me the invitation to be able to speak to one another. And it's funny, you talk about experience. I was like, dang, I got more failures than I got successes. So yeah,
all of us.
Collins. So yeah, that's exciting, just to hear that.
For sure. So BJ, can you just tell us a bit more about yourself and what you do specifically with Build a Better Us?
Absolutely. Yeah, my name is BJ Thompson, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I am the director of Build a Better Us, which is a network of married couples who support one another for the health of marriage as a whole. It's inclusive of engaged couples as well as we do coaching with dating couples, because we see that God has a heart for strengthening relationships so that they reflect his love. And so I'm the director there. I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of development, a lot of coaching. Primarily, I'm just a student and just a learner of relationships, and want to be able to learn what does it look like to enrich and to experience the health that God has intended in relationships. So it is funny just to think that the Lord has given a guy like myself who has just an 0-50 track record before marriage the ability to be able to speak into relationships, yo. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself and what I kind of do.
Cool, man. And because we are talking to college students, can you tell us a bit about your college experience? I know you went to school. What was that like, and what school did you go to?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm a Texas native, Dallas native. Went to the University of North Texas, became a Christian there, had a very abrupt conversion where the Lord just, really literally one day, it just dawned on me that I didn't know Jesus and had a desire to pursue the Lord all of a sudden, honestly. And when that desire came, well, let me talk a little bit about my past. My past was riddled with a lot of experimentation when it came to my relationships. And so in and of a lot of relationships. And so when I became a believer, one of the first things that I pursued was a relationship as a new Christian, because I knew, I couldn't have the same old relationships. And so went to the University of North Texas, started going to a Bible study where I met my wife at. And my wife and I began to date in college. And so, a lot of my failures happened in college as well, and especially within a Christian relationship. And I realized this: two Christians don't equal a Christian relationship. So, yeah. So again, my college experience and relationship was big because, I just assumed that things were going to work out because we both had a certain level of faith, only to realize that it wasn't it, that there was a lot more missing. There was a lot more character that we needed and perspective that we needed that we didn't even have access to.
What would you say is a biblical definition of marriage, and why is that significant to college students?
In a very simple way, I want to say two people who are rooted in the love of Jesus, the fact that he did enough for them that they don't have to do for themselves. And out of that, they're able to come alive. And so when they come together under the mindset that he's already been enough, and they're not trying to live to please one another in order to feel like they're enough. Because, oftentimes, Jeremy, we look at relationships as a means for acceptance. Us as men, we look for a woman as a means of sexual acceptance, or women, they look at us as a means of emotional acceptance. And the reality is, if my acceptance isn't rooted already in something that I couldn't do for myself, then no human being will be enough. There'll never be enough acceptance received from any person. And so I would just say, one, it's just the heart that's rooted in that. Right. Two, I think the importance of college students, we've come into an era where, we believe that things are not important, because this is not where I'm at, and that's not what's in my life, then it's not a big deal. But the reality of it is, if you're single and you're in college and you're whatever, and you have a desire to be married one day, your preparation is now. Your preparation is not when you get into the relationship. And so, I think there is an importance of those who are single, who have the desire, God-given desire to want to be in a relationship, to begin to prepare now, because the way they prepare will be the way that they respond to that relationship right now. And so again, I think that there is a need for you to start thinking about that now, even if it may not be the reality. It's, man, what is this? And am I a healthy person? Because if I'm not a healthy person, then I'm not going to have a healthy relationship. And so, yeah, I think that it is critical that students begin to think about this now and examine the reality of where they're at in college, as opposed to waiting until they get to the moment of relationship.
I think what you said is real significant because oftentimes, in college, we're looking for an identity in a sense because for a lot of college students, the moment that they get out of or they come into college, it's the first time that they're kind of on their own. They
Yeah,
have that sense of independence, trying to find themselves. And along with college, I mean, you're just bombarded not only with ideas of what relationships should look like, but you also have these different experiences going on right in front of your dorm room. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
It's so easy to lose track of the real reason why you should even consider marriage, right?
Let me say something else. So
Yeah.
hopefully this is helpful. There is a perspective that says this: I'm going to be experimental in my intimacy until I have enough intimacy that helps me figure out my commitment,
Right.
right? And kind of layman's term is this, is that, man, I'm just not sure who this person is,
Right.
and nobody really can know. That's kind of the mindset. Nobody can really know. So what we do is we use intimacy, the giving of ourselves to other people, in order to figure out commitment.
Mm.
Now here's a problem with that. The problem with trying to use intimacy to figure out commitment is intimacy can't figure out commitment because intimacy changes. Intimacy, can ebb and flow, and it never comes to a place of concrete love. You can feel madly encouraged and loved by one person from an intimate perspective, but then in the next week, 2 month, man, that can drastically change.
Right.
And so I think that one of the issues that we face right now is that we use intimacy in order to determine commitment, when intimacy may change and the commitment is low. So a little bit more clearly, we may have the intimacy of a married couple, but the commitment of two people trying to get to know one another.
Right.
And as a result of it, a lot of us have a lot of broken hearts, backgrounds of hurt, and we'll say, man, I don't date anymore, or I don't commit anymore
Right.
because I'm hurt. And the reality is, it's not that you've committed, it's because your commitment was under your intimacy, or it was not consistent with the degree of intimacy that you were giving to the individual. And so if we're having the commitment of two people getting to know one another, then we need to have the intimacy of two people getting to know one another. The problem comes in when we have the intimacy of two people who are married, but we have the commitment of two people who are getting to know one another, or two people who are just dating, right? And this is where a lot of the broken hearts come from, and a lot of our stories of, myself being 0 and 50. You get a lot of those things coming out of that because, man, there's something in us that just says, if this just feels good for long enough, then maybe it's what I need to commit to, when quite the opposite. Love is committed to the extent that intimacy is happening. I hope that makes sense too. So we give intimacy of an engaged couple when we're engaged. We
Right.
give the intimacy of a dating couple when we're dating. And intimacy, again, is the giving of myself. So that's emotional, that's spiritual, that's physical. I'm giving myself, right? That's why it's not appropriate. And the bigger issue is that, some people say, man, well, I just choose to do it differently.
Right.
And what I would argue is this: I say, whether you choose to do it differently or not, you're being robbed of the love that God intended for you,
Mm.
right? There's a level of love that God intends for you that really ultimately will bring satisfaction to you, but you're being robbed of it and you don't know it. And so you just say, you think that all relationships or some relationships have the ability to be sustained by giving a romantic intimacy of a married couple with the commitment of a dating couple. And yet what you don't realize is you're actually being robbed of the experience of unconditional love that God intends for you.
A great definition and a key framework to go by, you know.
Yeah.
With that being said, you know, like a lot of our students, they're single. They're not booed up right now. But they attending Bible study to see if
Yeah.
there's a sister or brother out there that loves the Lord. And you know how that goes. So what specifically do you think a brother and sister who's not in a dating relationship right now look for in another person?
Okay. Yeah. So you're asking me what are the things that a person needs to look for in a potential, mate? And
Right.
again, it's not that everybody's your potential mate. You're not, this ain't a meat market, yo. We're not looking for that little secret sign nobody knows about. Yeah. I think that, if you want to look for health, man, because again, it's all about health.
Mm.
And here's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to be looking for is, one, you first need to be pursuing personal health. I think that oftentimes, man, like we're looking for a person to resolve the dysfunctions within us first. And there's an unwillingness to pursue just growth as a single person. And so I think that part of the mindset that we have to pursue is, man, dysfunction is not outside of me. Dysfunction is within me.
Right.
And, my heart needs to pursue health as an individual. And so I think just one thing that I would encourage singles to do is say this, is that my life won't be worked out once I find, somebody else and they come in and they meet me in my dysfunctions. Man, my life in a lot of ways is healthy when I pursue my own health, because I think a lot of times we think that the reason why we're single is because of other people. And sometimes the reason why we're single is because God hasn't released us into a relationship, because in a lot of ways we're not healthy, right? And if we did get it, some of us forced the relationship, it doesn't work out because we're not healthy people, right? We don't know why. We're just unhealthy people, and we're attracted to more unhealthy people, right? Our palate, our taste, like what we taste, is not because we're not healthy.
Right.
And so I would just say first and foremost is you need to pursue growth in community. You need to pursue growth physically, exercising your body. You need to pursue growth emotionally, your ability to be able to express your heart in a healthy way, the joys, the pains, the suffering that you have in a way that doesn't cause you to lose your mind, right? You need to be pursuing, spiritual growth. So again, it's not just Bible study to make you a healthy person. There's different elements of relational health. How are you relational? Can you have a roommate? Are you able to love them deeply and not be in strife with them? Because if you can't be in strife, with your roommate or not have strife with your roommate, then how are you going to be, at peace with your mate?
Right.
So again, I think it's first start asking those questions. And when you do begin to ask those questions in a very sober way, then when you begin to look, you're looking for a person that's healthy emotionally.
Right.
They can express their emotions, their joys, their pains, their sorrows without losing it, right? Physically, right? They are either able to provide or, they are taking care of their bodies, in a way. And again, things can go to an extreme,
Right.
but there is there is a health that can be had physically that says, man, at this place, you're just not in a healthy place right now.
Right.
How are they relationally? Are they able to connect? If you got a man who's unwilling to connect with other men, or a woman that's unwilling to love with other women, that's a problem, right? That is a problem. You need to see that as a red flag. Spiritually, are they pursuing spiritual health? Or are they just assuming that, by being around or, being among that things just happen, or do they pursue those things outside of being told? So again, I think what you're looking for is not the one. You're looking for healthy people.
Okay.
And the Lord will give you that. He'll give you that nudge as to who those people are, and it'll be affirmed by multiple individuals. It just won't be your own outward perspective of it.
Right.
So
Yeah, man, I think that's good, and with that being said, I think oftentimes relationships can be almost therapeutic. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
especially when you come from an urban context where you just come with a lot of challenges, right?
Yep.
Like, and oftentimes that a person from another place might not have. In a lot of ways, you're kind of already forced to grow up, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of us. So, oftentimes we idolize people because we think that they can offer us the emotional stability,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual stability that they can't, and it's almost like I went to your conference, like we make them heroes, right?
Yeah.
When they're not supposed to, even in dating relationships. As I hear you talking about health and looking for a healthy person who's spiritually healthy, physically healthy. You know what I'm saying? I felt conviction. I should be going to the gym right now. Uh,
Amen.
for real. But as I hear you talk about that, how should you pursue health while you're single, right?
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of college students, man, they just want to get married. Especially
Yeah.
like when you're a believer, it's like, I want to get married and,
Yeah.
change the world around me. You know what I'm saying? My wife
Yeah.
beside me, like it's like a Christian Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
So like, how should you handle in pursuing healthiness? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, again, I think is recognizing that dysfunction doesn't live outside of me, it lives inside of me. And a person's not gonna fix me. I think that one of the more difficult things in my own life and relationship was believing that, man, if I could just get through this one thing, I'll be fixed. And in a lot of ways, marriage only exposes those things. They make them, I call it, inescapable community. Where now you could run from the hardships and the exposure of community when you're single, and the things that it brings out, the strengths and the weaknesses. But when you're married, it's intensified. Community lives in your bed, right? And so I would just say, one, first and foremost, knowing that the things that you struggle with now will only be magnified and intensified in marriage. And so just not believing, again, I think we live in a culture that believes that either if we answer it the right way, or we just imagine that it's not there, that it won't be there. And so one, the issues that we all have are real, right? The stuff that you do that surprises you, that's you. That's not somebody else. That's the real you. Like that's the real you that got angry at that situation. That's the real you that responded with, stupidity. That's the real us. That's not a stranger. And that's really part of the thing. I need that part of me to be growing and to be sanctified. And so one, man, I think it's, quite asking yourself, one, man, am I pursuing growth in a way that doesn't depend on my performance, right? Like, does my growth look like I'm pursuing out of a heart that's connected to an acceptance already? Because again, the issue is that we lack acceptance. We feel unaccepted, and we use relationships with people as a means of acceptance, as opposed to pursuing relationships with God where we already have acceptance. And so one, it's knowing that I'm already accepted, and out of the acceptance that I already have with God, now I can pursue God based on that acceptance. And so one, are you pursuing the Lord, man? Is it real? Is it one of those things that you're doing because you think, if I do more stuff, then he'll really accept me? Or do you genuinely say, God, I'm already enough in Christ, and out of me being enough, I want to pursue you because this is where my soul is satisfied. So spiritually, relationally, emotionally, right? We all have scars. We all have baggage. This is a fallen world, and we have all experienced pain. Have you begin to process your baggage, right? Have you begin to talk about the things that scare you, the things that bring you joy, the things that, sadden you from your life? Whether, somebody else perceives those things to be real or not, they are real for you. And have you begin to process those? Do you have, not do you not just not deal with them, but are you dealing with them and recognizing that for the rest of my life, these things will be with me? And I can either be healthy or unhealthy in the way that I process them. So, maybe you were abused. Maybe you had abandonment. Maybe you were in, some type of, scarring relationships, whatever those things are, whatever you perceive them to be. Have you begin to work through those things? Are you talking to somebody about that? Are you getting health in it? Now, again, you don't have to wear it on your shoulder, but you do need to begin to pursue health in working through those things, because the reality of it is they touch and influence everything that you do. And so, again, asking that question, am I emotionally healthy? Am I really working out the scars of my heart? And I think college, for you college students, it's a great opportunity, because it's the first time that you can begin to look back and say, man, now what happened there for those last 18 years? What happened for the last 20 years of my life? And man, do I feel satisfied? Do I feel scared? You're not under the rule of your parents. Hopefully not, right? You're not under that rule. You really have a sense of individualism that you've never had before. And so I just think it's important to ask those questions. And then lastly, I would say pursuing health, because again, it's community, it's relationship, it's emotional. But I think it's models. You need to get you a mentor. Pray for a mentor. Get you a mentor. Get yourself exposed to a family. One of the more critical things for me, just as a man, and as a husband, and even as a single, was getting around families. There was things about the gospel. There was things about a family and a marriage that I just couldn't have known until I saw somebody else doing it. Right. And so having older people, not just relying on peers, being okay with that, becoming a learner in that way. You don't have to be incompetent, but becoming a learner and intentionally putting yourself around families. There's plenty of families around you. Babysit their kids. Take the wife or the husband out to lunch and pay for their lunch and ask them questions. Just be around families. And I think what happens when you come full circle to a place where you're just you're giving yourself to experiencing models, it makes the experience of commitment and intimacy less scary, because you're around it. You're around kids. You're around people who work full time and they love their spouse. And so again, I would say putting yourself in the midst of that makes it not as intimidating, because it's not just a bunch of college students trying to figure it out, but it's college age students in the midst of people that they pursuing who are already married with children. And they're being integrated into families. So again, I think it's full circle in your integration, so that you can begin to benefit, but then also see how one day you can begin to give back to other people.
Cool, man. And for those college students who don't have, money to take out a couple, you know what I'm saying? Tell them to hook you up.
Absolutely.
Or invite yourself to dinner. So, with that being said, man, time is slipping away from us. So I just want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
And if you could just give us just a couple of final words or words of encouragement for our scholars and for the other people who may be listening. So the last question is, where should these students look? Do they look in the club? Do they look in a Bible study? Like what does that look like? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, again, this is my favorite illustration. I travel, and sometimes I travel. And when you travel, man, there's a lot of small fast food places everywhere, man. And a lot of them are, burgers, fries. I mean, just that quick, fried Snickers. They got everything when you're traveling, And so, I've walked in many establishments, and I see the, triple heart attack burger, and I don't have to have it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's because, on a regular basis, man, I've trained my palate, my taste, my senses to not be attracted to those things. But in a lot of times, man, there are people who struggle with their weight. They go into those establishments, and for some reason, they're unknowingly drawn to those things.
Right.
And so, the way that works out with us is this, is that when we train ourselves to experience unhealthy things, we unknowingly are drawn to unhealthy people, right? And so I don't think it's an issue of where you meet a person. Again, I think there's some places that can be absolutely detrimental. You don't meet a person at, over 21, I don't know how to say this on camera, but y'all understand what I'm saying.
We know what you're talking
I don't
about.
think that's a good place to meet a person. But I do think it has more to do with not where you meet a person, but I think it has more to do with your own health and the type of people you're attracted to. So again, unhealthy people are attracted unknowingly to unhealthy people, and they end up creating unhealthy relationships. And so again, more so than where you meet a person, more so than that, it's all about who you are. So if you find yourself consistently in unhealthy relationships and trying to figure out why, it's not just because there's unhealthy people, it's because you're an unhealthy person. You know what I mean? And that's your natural attraction. And so again, I think where you meet a person, it may not even be a big deal. I think bigger than that, it's all about your personal health. And when you're healthy emotionally, when you're healthy relationally, when you're healthy spiritually, when you're healthy physically, you're not going to be regularly attracted to unhealthy things. You'll recognize dysfunction, hopefully not in an overly picky or idealistic way, but you will recognize the dysfunction, and you're not going to be attracted to it.
That's a good word, man. That's a good word, man. And that's pretty much our time. But do you have any final remarks based off the conversation we had today?
Yeah. No, I mean, again, this is one of the more trying times in a person's life. And at the age of anywhere from 18 to 22, the concrete begins to dry. Who we are as people, our identities, our perspectives begin to dry. And this is a critical time for you to pursue growth and development. And so instead of believing what America or the culture has taught us, that, you just live life and experience it, be intentional. Be intentional about your life. Be intentional about your relationships. Experimentation leads to the same end, and that's destruction. And if you want to pursue health in relationships, it's more so about you becoming a healthy person, not a perfect person. And so I just want to encourage everybody to pursue health. And again, it's not about being perfect, but you can be healthy, and you can begin to have a healthy relationship. And that healthy love first starts with God, out of faith alone and Christ alone. But then it spills over into relationships with healthy people, and then healthy romantic relationships that lead to covenant marriage. And so again, it can happen for you. But if you're not feel like you've already done, no person will satisfy you. No marriage will satisfy you. It'll only make things more complicated and more confusing.
Yeah.
So again, work on that now. Pursue that now. Don't take that lightly now. Get around families right now and just begin to learn what it looks like. And again, you may not know any families, but that means you're going to have to be intentional. So, if you're serving at a local church, even if you don't have money, college students have enough money.
Right.
So they can take themselves out for fast food, right?
Yeah.
Take them out for, a McDonald's cheeseburger, whatever you can afford. But you just got to be intentional with the little that you have, so that you can begin to gain, significant investments in your life. So that's how I'd encourage my brothers and sisters, yo.
Cool, man. That's pretty much our time, man. But again, I just want to thank you so much
Appreciate it, brother.
for sitting down with us. We appreciate just the work that you do, specifically with marriages. I think that's definitely a ministry that's needed within the body today. So BJ, man, we appreciate you, brother. And
Appreciate it.
if there's any viewers out there, feel free to go on our website, pursuescholars.com.
Yeah. But you can contact me at buildabetterus.com. That's our website, buildabetterus.com.
You have a Twitter?
I do, at BJ116.
Okay, okay. You can follow us too at Pursue Scholars. Yeah. So BJ, man, I'm about to sign out, but again, brother, it was a pleasure having this conversation.
Appreciate it, brother.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Praise God for you, man. Have a good
All
one.
right. Peace.
Peace.